Welcome, race fans, to season 2020, episode 16 of the Pecino Report. We've finally had some action on track, and wow, what a race that was in Jerez. Jerez 1, soon to be followed by Jerez 2 next week. So there's more news than you can shake a stick at, but here at Pecino GP, we're not going to dwell on what you might be reading elsewhere. Here, our man with the plan, the master himself, Mr. Manuel Pecino, goes so much further and uncovers the real stories behind the scenes. So with that said, it's a hearty welcome to the usual team. Andra, Dave and Manuel, I hope you've all had a fantastic weekend. Andra, how was your first MotoGP race?
Oh my God, there was a lot of anticipation. I was worried that when I went to watch it, I'd go, oh, this is boring. But we even had friends over for dinner on Saturday night, and I had to put the TV on because I thought, I'll wait till they've gone and then I'll watch it from the start. But I had to go put it on, and I spent half the night standing in front of the TV, and then they came and joined me. When Mark fell off, I punched my husband. I think I mentioned to you guys during the week, I don't understand what this week's break is because I can't. I get it. Like I'm
just keep racing.
Counting down. Yeah, come on, just keep going. So many things we've spoken about have made sense, and let's keep it going.
It's all coming together. Fantastic.
Oh
That's
God.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Dave, finally, it's back. 200 and something days.
Apparently there's been some racing going on out there. Like
something racing something?
Who would have thought? I like the fact that Andrew messaged us and went, is this normal?
I was about to ask you again, though. Is it seriously? Is it always like that, or was this extreme?
As Stu said, that was one of the quiet ones.
Yeah.
So.
God,
it was
I'm
a little
not
over
to
the
handle
top.
the stress.
There's always some controversy like that, but yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And boss, I believe you were there while you couldn't get into the track. You were there. You were hearing the bikes resonating off the hills in the distance. How was Jerez this time of year?
Hi to everyone. Yes, finally we started again, and the expectation was big, but the reality was even bigger, right?
Yeah.
I went there. I went to Jerez because I wanted to see after, I don't know, the first time I went to Jerez was probably 1990. Mm-hmm. And since then I didn't miss one. So I wanted to go there and see how it was without these 130,000 people around, And at the end, well, it was a little bit more boring off track, but on track it has been one of the most exciting races I have seen. And Andra, you entered in this through the big door,
Right. Manuel, I have to ask you a very serious question because I know we made lots of jokes leading up to this that you'd be in a rabbit suit hiding somewhere. Did you or did you not actually hide behind a bush while you were watching the race? Or some of the races?
A bush, exactly not. But I tried to hide, and I had some issue with the Spanish police. We will leave it here. We will leave it here, okay?
Yeah.
We will leave
brilliant.
It here.
That's dedication.
Oh, wonderful. Well, fantastic. It's so good to see the racing back on TV. Although none of us could be there, so it's just great feeling to be back, Manuel.
Yes, Stu, and I wanted to underline what you said in the intro. Look, we are here. We will completely avoid the official press releases, the official statements, because this stuff our listeners can get anywhere, Exactly. We have our own opinion. People might think that maybe we are too critical, or others may think, hey, these guys seems that they think they know everything, okay? But this is our idea, and what we say, we do it always with reason and with some background, okay? We don't just shoot into the out, and this is important people to know.
That's exactly right. So what I thought we'd do this week, given that we've actually got racing to talk about, let's start at the back of the grid and we'll talk about riders and teams, and we'll work our way up to the obvious controversies. So without further ado, there were a couple of guys that started the race but didn't finish the race, and on the bottom of the classification list there on MotoGP.com, the first poor guy is one young Joan Mir. I tell you, Suzuki's weekend couldn't have gotten any worse. Manuel, couple of words about Mr. Mir. What do you think?
Yes, look, it's a shame because Joan, in practice, he was pretty fast. In fact, if you look to the pace of free practice 4, that is the practice session where the riders use the closest race setup on their bikes, Joan was basically the 4th fastest guy on the grid before the race, okay?
Yep.
In front of a guy we are going to talk later that was Fabio Quartararo, in front of him.
Exactly.
But something happened with the Suzuki, which I don't know, and at the end, he was thrown back on the starting grid, Joan Mir, and this affected completely his race. I think that he went to the race very anxious and immediately crashed. Okay, this is a mistake that Joan, in his second year in MotoGP and with the responsibility and the pace he had, it's a big mistake that has to be hardly criticized. He cannot do this again, you know.
Yeah.
He could have easy finish between the 10 first, absolutely, and even more. But he got over-revved himself. Sorry,
Yeah. Andrew.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, because I obviously don't mean to fall off. So, no, just because you're talking about mistakes.
Did you see Mark's off? He clearly did that on purpose.
He definitely was playing, trying to see how far. It's like a little kid trying to push God to see how far he can go or something. But is it because he pushed too hard? Is that what you're saying? He should have just eased off a bit.
Look, what I mean is, I don't know if he crashed on lap 1, 2, or 3. If the race is going to be 25 laps, he knows that he has the pace much faster than 10 other riders who are in front of him. He can't do this, you know. It's not that, if I am a team manager, it's not that when he comes back into the box saying, it's a shame. No, it's not a shame. It's a mistake.
Yep.
Is that because I think you've said before about them finding out about they need the distance to check the bike and
they need the data,
the performance and all of that.
That's right. And it's possibly still a sign of immaturity for Joan, given that, as you know, with what happened to Alex earlier in the weekend, as you say, Manuel, his whole function that weekend has changed. It's more important for him just to ride the laps, get the distance in, and perhaps he didn't mentally deal with that.
Stu, look, we never have to forget that we are talking about the 24 best or 22 best riders in the world. Their incomes per year, their income per year are millions.
Yeah.
So it's not like a junior, you, me, or whoever crashes in on a track while he's riding. No, they are professional. They get a lot of money for that, and they have to do a certain job. And when they do something like this, they just had mistaken. This is so clear.
Yep.
Is he related to that space station that used to keep messing up when they first stuck it into space in the 90s?
I think he might be now. Definitely.
Was that the Mir space station and things kept going wrong?
That's the one,
Must be related.
Yeah. And so just quickly before we move on, Manuel, so the wider implications for the Suzuki team, given that they've got no data whatsoever from this weekend.
Well, the Suzuki have been the big losers in this race because both riders were ready to really perform. Rins, again, in Saturday's FP4, Rins was number 3.
Yeah, you should have seen the messages going back and forth between Dave and myself. We were like, Rins, Suzuki, here we go.
He was number 3, Mir was number 2, and again, he crashed in the qualifying practice because he jumped off the bike because he was ready to hit the protections. So
did you hear about his statement about that, Manuel? And I'll apologise at this point because we have had listeners having a go at us for interrupting you, so I do apologise, and I'll try to minimise how much I do that. But but I was reading somewhere. In fact, no, it was on video footage. They were interviewing Alex, and he said he'd seen Jack go down, and he felt himself lose the bike. The only reason he didn't get off the bike was because he knew there was another rider in the gravel, and he didn't want to hit the other rider. So he stayed with the bike that much longer to make sure it was going away from the other rider. So to me, that's like kudos. Wow. Well done. That's brave.
Yeah, impressive. And how quick they think, because everything happens within a second or less.
Milliseconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's push forwards. So, Aleix Espargaro and the Aprilia team.
Well, we have to repeat the same statement that we said with Mir. Okay, yep. Aprilia, again, I think I spoke with his crew chief yesterday, and he told me that, Aleix got upset because he was riding with some Ducatis, and he... on the brakes, he couldn't overtake them with the engine as well, and then he got nervous and crashed. The same. Right. Look, it has been the first race for the new Aprilia, right? This race he should have finished anyhow, even if it was in position 15, 16, because what the engineers need at this point is information, not that his rider crashes fighting for position 8 or 9. This cannot happen.
Yeah, it's almost a cardinal sin.
Would this commonly happen in the first race of a season, or do you think is this to do with the being locked down and not being able to practice?
Well, this is very interesting, Andra, because just a few days before the start of the Grand Prix, I spoke with the neuropsychologist that has made Dovizioso change his attitude in the last years. And he explained me something super interesting. He said to me, look, after such a long breakdown, after so many months without the riders capable to do what they are trained to do, he said to me, there are different points that happen, but the most interesting is that there is a biological change in the riders. Okay, and how biological, what does this mean? He said to me, look, it's expected that in the first 2 weeks after starting back the activity, the riders are not ready to take lucid decisions. You say lucid in English?
Yeah.
Yep.
Lucid decision in English. And then he advanced to me. He said, look, it might happen that we will see a lot of crashes. We will see riders doing unexpected mistake, and not to their level. And this is exactly what we have spoken about Mir, what we have spoken about Aleix Espargaro. And there is a long list of issues that have happened during the weekend that we will see.
I guess just playing video games and lifting your weights and running it's still not actually racing.
The decision making isn't there yet. Yeah, Dave.
Manuel, we saw some reliability issues with Aleix's bike in the test earlier in the week. And there was some commentary running around that Aprilia was having to dial some of the performance back on that. And did you get a sense of how much they've restricted that development going forward when you spoke with Aleix's crew chief?
Yes, he told me more or less that the bike or the engine is working at theoretically 75% of the performance.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So that they dialed it back 25 on.
So and then exactly in the race, imagine with minus 25 fighting with the Ducati. So he got desperate.
You can start to see where Aleix was getting a little frustrated, or knowing that he had more in there.
But again, he got frustrated, but he's a professional rider.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yep. So pushing on, I'm gonna skip through. There's two people that were clearly not classified. One Mr. V. Rossi and one Mr. M. Marquez. I'm going to bypass them for now, and we'll talk about them later.
There's no story there, Stu.
No, there's no story there. Not at all.
Everyone knows that story.
That's it. The other non-finisher was Andra's favourite name, Mr. Ika Lekawona, on the
seriously,
Red Bull
every time
KTM.
they said it, I was just like, coolest name ever.
It's a great name. It is a great name. So, any news there, or was that just
not many news, not news at all, in fact, but it was Iker's first Grand Prix. And he has started in a race where the temperature was 60 degrees on the ground, 45 degrees in the air. So, I think he was thinking, what the hell am I doing here? But
exactly, yeah. They call it a trial by fire. This was almost literally a trial by fire. Indeed. Okay, so moving through the grid to the actual the finishes. So the other Aprilia rider, Bradley Smith, great to see another English rider actually on the grid there and finishing, even though he's maybe a part-timer.
I was a bit worried with his complexion. On the starting grid, I honestly thought that he was going to spontaneously combust.
Exactly. What do you think of Bradley's ride, Manuel?
Well, he gathered data. Yeah, he's a test rider that has been thrown into the races. You can't demand and expect too much from him. He has a job to do. And you look, don't you think that he could have thought, this is an opportunity. I have to do my best and show how good I am. No, he did his job. He brought that bike into the finish line.
He did.
That's what he had to do. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
Sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but as you're talking now, no. But the conditions and the first race back and the temperature and it was so intense.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it was like for the riders or the new riders, because they would have had this adrenaline going and they would have been dehydrated and.
Yeah, man. I mean they've all ridden in hot conditions before, but for the new guys to combine that with
hot,
the MotoGP bike for the first time, that's insane. Yeah. Push forward, Tito Rabat, good old Tito on the Hublot Avinci Racing bike.
Nothing to say about Tito. He's just one more man on the grid and gathered data. Yeah, no, he doesn't need his data. I don't think nobody needs. It's just there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and next one of my big stories from the weekend, and something I was really, really pleased to see, is Mr. Brad Binder, the Red Bull KTM guy. Yeah, what a ride!
He was brilliant. I really don't know what happened at the end, but I saw him there, position 9, 8, and it wasn't
he lapping faster than anybody else at one point?
Astonishing. Very good, Brad. Very good, and this has been a fantastic debut.
Yeah,
how do you say?
Debut, yeah.
Debut, yes, fantastic and really, really promising. And I'm looking forward because next weekend they are going to race on the same track. So Brad has some experience, and having shown what he's shown, I'm looking forward to see what will this mean.
Are you going again next weekend?
No. Enough.
Too hot. They know what you look like now, and they know your hiding spots.
Enough.
He's getting a head start. He's going to start riding to the Czech Republic. Perfect. Next one up the grid there is the other Repsol bike of Mr. Alex Marquez. He was going all right for a while there.
I think that I don't have a good memory, but I think we have spoken before what we could expect from Alex in his first ride and on a track that is has been one of the worst for him in the other categories. Then add to this that he crashed on Friday. That for me, he was completely out of the Grand Prix after that crash, mentally, not physically. Add to this the difficult condition with this heat and these tires and this stuff. So it was a difficult time for him.
Yeah. Has he raced much before without Mark on track?
He's probably got 2 or 3 years. Is he 2 or 3 years younger than Mark, or 4 or 5 years younger than Mark?
He's younger. No, in the championship, Mark has always been on track when he was there.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious if that's going to change. Yeah. Well, but being in MotoGP, racing without having Mark there, because he obviously has a big influence over him and he kind of looks out for him and he guides him, and what will it be like on track for him without Mark there?
Well, I think at the end, and when we get to Mark, we will see. At the end, I think there will be just one race without Mark on the track, but he has his father and this. But anyhow, Alex, is exactly happening what we foresaw. He's suffering, and he will suffer with this bike. Look, if Mark had a normal race, Mark had won that race with the same bike, painted in the same color, his brother would have finished, I don't know, not even the position he finished. I don't know which one.
He's in 12th. He would have been 13th.
13th. Look at this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious if it's that whole, living in his brother's shadow thing, if that will have much without having that extra pressure.
Next week he's going to feel like a very small fish in a very large pond with some big sharks in it. Don't worry. But realistically, he's as we spoke about last week. It's almost a freebie year for him. He knows he's not going to be there next year.
Go and have fun.
He knows what the plans are. Exactly. He's got almost a free year to acclimatise himself into MotoGP.
Yeah, but Andra, I think that it's not exactly fun what he's going to have. It's more,
But is it less pressure because he's sort of...
I would describe it more like he's going to have a lot of frustration, let's say.
Yes, yeah. That's always been his keyword. All right, I'll push forwards. Johann Zarco, is anything to say there?
Disappointing for me. I expected much more of him. He's riding a Ducati 2019. This we don't have to forget. But if Zarco has the best opportunity to get a good ride in Ducati, right? Because there are different bikes free. And he has to take this option. Remember, as we talk about Zarco, I think there has been no other rider in MotoGP who has had the opportunities Zarco has had. Remember, the first MotoGP he rode was Suzuki. Remember in a test in Japan, when he was still a Moto2 rider, he tested a Suzuki. Then he raced with Yamaha. He raced with KTM. He raced with Honda. And now with Ducati. And all this in how much? In 3-4 seasons.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, so
crazy.
Look, he has had the most opportunity than probably nobody else. So it's time for him to show that he can do it.
Yep, exactly. That's a really good summary. I agree. Next on the list is probably my biggest disappointment of the weekend. It was the fact that we didn't see Taka Nakagami's sister.
We did.
Oh, you did see her? I didn't see her.
I texted you.
Stu, you were looking in the wrong direction.
I saw that message pop up, but I didn't. I missed it too.
She was on the grid. She was on the grid.
Imagine if Dave would have missed her.
Yeah. You can guarantee one of us is going to get it.
That was my entire weekend. That was just...
So what do you think of Taka's ride, Manuel?
I don't have too much to say. At the end, he has been the best Honda rider of the weekend, no?
I was expecting him to be up a bit higher. Where does he normally sort of sit?
As long as he's in the top 10, that's around his normal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's normally around the periphery.
Because I was kind of looking for him every now and then. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, but remember all the riders who were missing on the grid. Where, if not Taka, and most of them would have finished in front of him. Mir, Brins, Crutchlow, Marquez, Rossi. So put another 5 in front. Put another 5 in front.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, pushing up, we've got the first factory bike of the Ducati team. It's Danny Petrucci.
Danilo, it happens the same to him as Alex Marquez. He crashed on Friday. And he hurt. He got his neck hurt. So he was physically completely finished. And even so, he raced. So there is no much to say. It's a shame that he has started the season this way.
He didn't look healthy. Didn't look healthy at all. Okay, moving up to number 8, Miguel Oliveira, the other Red Bull bike.
Oliveira, for me, was a little bit disappointing because along the whole race, we saw in front of him Brad Binder and Paul Espargaro. So, said this, it's a good sign that Brad, Paul, and Miguel have been more or less in the front. KTM seems to have done an important step forward in the performance of their machines.
I was going to mention that, the performance does really seem to have stepped up a notch. They're moving up the midfield very quickly, and with getting riders of the caliber of Brad Binder on board now, there could be some big things ahead for them.
Yes, I'm looking forward to see Brad.
Definitely, yeah. Dave?
Manuel, do you believe that there's I know that Tectoy have gone on record as saying that there is no difference between their bikes and factory KTM. Do you believe that there are slight differences? Is there an A spec and a lower A spec that's going on there?
No, I don't think so. We have to trust on what they say. But the big difference, Dave, they can have the same bike, but the number of engineers that are in one garage and in the other is what makes the difference.
Yeah, okay.
When a factory team comes in, 5-6 engineers jump on the bike, keep listening. Maybe on the other garage with the same bike, it's just one. And when they have to analyze, there are 4 brains in one box and 1 brain in another.
How much? Because I know the teams were a lot. Was it 12 people they were allowed in for their team for the weekend? How did that affect with having less engineers and all that there for this weekend?
Well, in fact, for the next race, there are some more people allowed to get in.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think the people who were missing were second line people. The top guys, they were there. And if they were not there, they were connected through computers to the circuit.
Cool. And their partners, because I was chatting to like Remy's girlfriend and also Jake Dixon's wife a little bit over the weekend, and just how weird it was for them not being there because they're used to being there to support them. And I guess the guys would have felt that majorly. Like you've spoken about it before, they have their people around them that make them feel good and boost them up. They didn't have that.
Exactly.
I'm not going to name names, Manuel, but this social distancing that's going on, you gave us a bit of a warning that some of the teams may be having their own interpretation of what was going on, and I thought, no, surely not. Surely this must be fairly clear for them. But as I said, I'm not going to name names, Paolo Ciabatti, but if you're going to hug someone and then give them a handshake from an opposition team, just make sure there's no cameras around, mate.
Well,
not going to name names of the entire Petronas SRT team.
Yes.
That's a mixed message nowadays, isn't it?
Look, I tell you something. I was in a certain hotel in nearby, and in my hotel there was a Moto2 rider that did a very good race with his team. And they were in the swimming pool with other 100 people around, and I tell you more, they were from Valencia, and you know that the paella, our typical food in Spain, is from Valencia, and they have taken a paella and eating paella in the middle of the swimming
sharing food. Oh my god!
And then the following day,
that's the face palm of the week.
They go out with their mask. They are no sé qué.
And half of them probably swallowed pool water after they'd all been
exactly
in it.
But okay, you have to. I do say you have to perform in front of the camera. But what you said, and did you realize? I can send you pictures of the grid. There were how do you say invitados? There were people invited that had nothing
invitationals
to do on the grid. Pa. So hang on.
Right. Nice.
Interesting.
Andrew, you were going to say something?
I was just going to quickly tell you a fun fact that I learnt today. I did not realise that Luca Marini, who I believe won Moto2, is Valentino Rossi's half brother.
Luca Marini.
Well, it's time
you can't
for
tell
you
that
to
by looking at them.
Yeah.
No.
And so he is a younger model, isn't he?
It's like a before and after.
Yeah.
And
Before and after what? World domination.
Their characters are so different, because Marini is super serious. He's non-joking. He doesn't smile. Valentino says about him, my brother never smiles. So they are so different because they share just the mother, okay?
Yeah. Oh, let's not go there. Okay, we'll push forward. Let's go forward, definitely. So, Pecco Bagnaia, that's where we're up to. The first of the Pramac bikes.
I just wrote his name down because I was like, make sure you ask about Pecco.
Look, Pecco is for me one of the 3 highlights of the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
If you go back to the video and you watch the races again, you notice at the beginning of the race, very at the beginning, Pecco does an overtaking. strong overtaking. When I saw this, it's the typical overtaking of somebody who says more or less, okay, guys, now I have cleared how this works. Okay, so it's he has said he has waken up and said, okay, now I got how this works. The typical overtaking that we saw back when he was in Moto2 dominating. So it's a super good news to see Pecco there. And it's really something that I was looking for because I like him and because he has shown in the lower categories that he's an extreme talented rider. So welcome to Pecco. And maybe Ducati hasn't the need to go outside to look for the riders they need.
Exactly. I was going to say, has Dobby
you just
signed
stole my
for next
thunder
year
on
yet?
that one.
Sorry. Rewind. We can edit that out. Dave, you got a question?
So again,
has
we will
signed?
see, and the confirmation. I'm looking forward to see if Pecco confirms this good sensation that he has left.
Yeah. Nice.
Very
Fantastic. Cool. Okay, we'll push
him
through.
and Remy next year.
Yeah. Ooh.
Remy has
There
to
we
show
go.
something more that he showed this weekend. But let's continue.
He still finished. Was he? Where did he finish? Was he fifth, sixth?
Yeah,
Remy?
sixth.
Sixth or seventh or something like
Which
that?
I think that's what when he spoke to us, he kind of mentioned that's where he was expecting to sit.
Yeah.
So he's got a plan. I reckon
He
we'll
does.
just watch.
He is a man with a plan. All right, pushing up the grid. One of my favourite riders, Mr. Paul Espargaro, the Red Bull KTM.
He's better looking than I expected. After all that talking about him and his name and what we've said, I expected someone a bit chubbier and older.
How does
Some of the name Paul.
how does Espargaro has to look like?
I know, right?
like an asparagus
knows?
or what?
Like an
Mate,
asparagus.
actually, yeah, with some funny sticky uppy hair and a bit of a green tinge.
Well,
You know what? I'll tell you. I enjoyed seeing him come through from Q1 into Q2. He had a great ride in Q1, and when I saw him get that lap time to come through to Q2, in my head, all I was hearing was the Jaws music with him. Mark, I'm coming for you.
Well, I think if he had thought about this thinking disappeared when he saw Mark passing. Chung,
Yes.
But anyhow,
Like he's standing still.
Yeah. So Paul, very good performance. I think he was. It was an interesting race to see him then in the front. If I don't remember bad, he was 6, 7 position, no, there.
Sixth.
So very good, interesting race, and again and again, we will see in the second race if he will confirm what we have seen in yesterday. That was very positive. No, before yesterday, 2 days ago.
Andrew.
Do they know? I was trying to work out. I could see they're holding up the sign to say who's around the riders, but do they? Because as Mark was, I don't know, I'm jumping here, but as Mark was flying up and overtaking these people, there were some bigger names he was coming up to. I'm like, they're not going to let him pass. And next minute he's passed them, and I was like, did they not know? Did they think he wasn't there anymore, or?
And yeah, there's not much they can do about it.
Okay, crikey.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Okay, pushing up the grid again, the fifth place finisher, Franco Morbidelli, the second place Petronas SRT rider. What a ride! That was a good ride for fifth.
Yeah, Franco did a good
Satellite
ride. Did a very good ride. He's also growing, but you have to compare his performance with his teammate and
Of course,
with the
yeah.
other Yamaha rider. So let's say that his performance, we should call it discreet.
Yeah, fair call.
Okay.
I think in the whole scheme of things, for the lowest place Yamaha there to be placed, finishing Yamaha to be fifth, is a very good sign for Yamaha as well.
Stu, no, don't forget the guys who were missing. There were two Suzukis who should be there. But again, fifth position, the point scoring is very good. The performance is just discreet. He has clearly a goal that is to be at the level of the other Yamaha riders, Valentino apart.
Definitely. Next one, Aussie Jack Miller.
Oh
He
my
was
God,
looking
the
good
amount of
for a
times I
long
yelled out his
time.
name.
Oh, go Jack! That was a good ride. What did you think of
Jack.
that ride, Manuel?
Jack, Well,
he faded away.
Jack, he was very much in the front. The most interesting thing for Jack is that he started where he finished, in the front. And this is something that in the past we didn't see with Jack. You know, when he did a good race, normally he started well and then came down. But the good thing is that it looks like he's keeping the level he showed at the end of the last season. So this is very positive. But it's not enough for a guy
Not
like
yet.
It felt like he was struggling, and again, I don't know, this is just from my observation, but it felt like he was almost being, rather than attacking, defending and trying to he really seemed to fight to just hold where he was.
Yeah, definitely. Dave?
Manuel, is there any talk behind the scenes to the pain that Jack was feeling in his right arm? He said it was beyond unrideable. Towards the end, is that arm pump that's coming through?
That was interesting to see. He was talking about arm pumps, and this is very good.
A what? What's a what?
I was waiting for that question.
I was just like,
because this is going to have big knock-on effect if this is starting to hit him.
But
It will,
the arm pumping was, I think.
Hang on? Can we just explain for Andra what arm pump is?
Andrew's frowning, and I'm going to get more wrinkles. I don't want that many yet.
Yep.
What's an arm pump?
I know you've experienced it, Dave.
Is this a have a go at Dave because he's single thing?
No.
Oh.
Manuel's just got it.
I was actually meaning because Dave's an ex-racer, but yeah,
Oh,
sure.
sorry.
I was never that fast, Stu.
Manuel, Manuel, are you blushing?
Blushing.
And everything I've read about
no.
it, basically, it's the muscles in the arm. You're using them that in a way that you're not used to using them, and they fill it with blood, and the muscles lock up, and it can be a form of it presses on the nerves in the arm. It's a form of compartment syndrome and presses on the nerves in the forearm, basically. Yeah.
So the muscle basically sits in a sheath. When the muscle expands, the sheath is supposed to go with it. But the muscle expands at a greater rate than what the sheath around
That'd be
it does.
excruciating.
It's excruciating because what it does is then starts compressing on the nerves.
And Manuel, didn't you mention over the weekend they were struggling with heat on their hands and almost like burnt?
This happens with Aleix Espargaró on the Aprilia. He got almost burned, but at the end, nobody complained about this, so they were all burned, basically.
Oh, they didn't care. They just wanted to be out there.
Yeah, but I wanted to mention what Andra said about the image of Jack defending himself more than attacking. And this is exactly, I think, because of this arm pump issue. You know, when you have these arm pumps, basically you can not close your hand. You know,
so he would have been fighting with himself plus fighting with them, and
he was basically defending his position, which he did very well.
How's that going to affect him moving forward? Is this an ongoing?
He has to do a surgery. 90% of the riders of the grid have their arms being opened.
Scars down their arms.
They're all going to be like bionic men once they have all their bits
basically,
replaced.
They open the sheath, don't they, to let it relax. Basically, yeah. I had the same thing in my shins and my legs years and years ago.
I'm so glad you said shins.
Because I was such an elite athlete, indeed. But you're right. I didn't see Jack struggling with the bike at all. Like a lot of the other riders, halfway through the race, you could see them. You know, Maverick Vinales struggling with the tires and struggling with the bike. I didn't see that with Jack. I just saw him just slowing down. You could see there's something wrong with him. And look, in his defence, he was the only person that managed to push back a little bit against Mark as Mark came through the field as well, which was very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll push up. Yeah, exactly. So the first podium getter was Dovi, Andrea Dovizioso. What a ride from Dovi.
What a ride.
Recovering from a broken collarbone. He was nowhere in any of the conversations or the equations. No one thought he was going to do anything.
That was insane. See, Mark stole the limelight there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
After Dovi rode with a broken collarbone.
No, but Dovi, we saw in Jerez, this is the pure Dovi, you know, who gets the most with the less effort. If you want to describe Dovi, this is him, and it has been
efficient
all his life, all his career. And this is exactly, in my opinion, and here comes one of these things that people may criticize. In my opinion, this is why Dobby will never be a world champion, because he's very calculator, Look, Dobby finished in Jerez in front of many riders that were faster than him. He stayed there, he stayed in the back, he had a certain cards in his hand, and he played that cards at the right moment, and he took the maximum out of what Dobby doesn't risk. If you see, he's a rider that almost never crashes. He doesn't risk. He's a very conservative rider, but
clean and strategic.
But to be a world champion, you have to risk.
Yep, exactly.
Like Marquez.
Exactly.
Can we talk
this
about
is my
him yet?
opinion.
Not yet.
Okay,
Just on that, Manuel, I thought it was telling of Dovizioso in his post-race interview with the lovely Amy Dargan, was that he was honestly contemplating coming in. He was 5 laps out. He was done.
He said after the race, I can't celebrate because I'm finished.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
He said it was he didn't know what got him through, but he was done with 5 laps to go.
But he would never come in. The Dovizioso is a rider that hasn't missed one race since he has arrived at the championship. So he wouldn't start. But again, for me, it has been a fantastic news. He has finished on the podium in the worst circuit for him. In his worst circuit, he has finished the podium because he's smart. He's thinking, after here, the Jerez, we have Brno, which is a very good track for him, and Austria, where he is a winning challenger. So Dobby has
That's
to
a
go.
Great point. Jerez is not a Ducati track.
No, it's not. And they've survived it. They're one down, one to go.
Being as calculator as he is, he has to, I'm sure that he said, okay, we have to minimize our loss here in our loss in Jerez, and minimize already is a third position. Not so bad, eh?
That's pretty good.
Exactly right.
That's very good. Pushing up to the second place getter, good old MV12 Maverick Top Gun. What'd you think of that ride? Despite the fact that he had a chewing gum front tire.
Look, now come my harshest criticism of the season.
We're going to talk about his mustache?
Does he
Is that what it was?
Does he?
I thought he was just sweating and it was some dirt on his top lip.
Sorry, man.
Not like that, they don't. Sorry, go on.
Look, a rider who starts the season thinking as a real challenger for the world title, can't do what he did. He cannot play. How do you say the Russian roulette? You call it the Russian?
Yeah.
How can you do this? You are starting the first race of the season. You are a challenger to the champion. You just you can't take this kind of risks. No,
and look, this goes for Valet as well.
No,
this is exactly the same for Valet.
It's different. If
you think
Valet during the practice, where was he on the grid? I think third or fourth row. Okay, Valet can say, okay, I am in there down. Okay, so
you think he needs to take the risk?
I can take a risk if it works. Perfect, because I am already in the shit. But the guy who will start second, will start second of the grid, who is running for the championship, who is in the first race, what was the reason to take that risk?
Exactly.
At the end, he has been lucky because Mark happened this, because Jack has had this pump problems. So he has been the unluckiest in taking decision. Once again, he was not. It's the opposite of Andrea Dovizioso,
Yeah, definitely. And I heard Lynn Jarvis as well say that when they tested that soft tyre on the Saturday, there was minimal difference between the hard and the soft, and so they were thinking about going for the soft. I mean, but you're right. For my thinking,
do they do that as a team? decision, or do the riders choose?
No, as a rider decision. The two sides of the garage are separate. But for me, when it's 55-degree track temperature and you've got minimal performance difference between the hard and the soft, it's a no-brainer. You don't go for the soft.
Exactly.
Really.
Look, if you analyze FP4, once again, that anybody can analyze and what the riders analyze. If you go through the tire set they were using, you saw that the difference between the soft and the hard, or the other one in the front, was minimum. If all the riders on the grid, all the others, use one, and in free practice you saw that the difference wasn't that big, go to the same than the others.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Go to the same, because if all take a wrong decision, you are in the same boat. But you can make this move if you are in the 10th Grand Prix of the race of the season and you need to get something special, but not in the first. Not in the first.
Yep, Andra.
Yeah, because I don't understand the whole tyre thing, but I felt surprised that he finished the race, especially after seeing what it did to Rossi's tyre when they showed that shot of him off track. But if he'd had did he ride incredible to get where he did with the tyres like that? Or so if he'd had two hard tyres, would he possibly have won and he would have done a hell of a lot better?
Look, we can speculate. I can imagine that Maverick thought the following. If you analyze the victories Maverick had in MotoGP, it's only that all Maverick's victory has been like, I go in front and I win by myself. Remember, with the Suzuki. So he has never had a victory in a fight because he doesn't like to fight. Maverick, the way of winning is clean,
just take off,
clean track and take off. So we saw that he started very well. Finally, he has learned how to start. So I think that he was sure that his start would be good. So he thought, I'm going to put a soft tire that will give me an advantage at the beginning so I can push and go away. This is what
he did. He did to start with, didn't he?
Like after 2 laps, he was finished.
And then
gone. Yeah.
You know, I think
I just sounded like one of those e-bikes. Sorry.
You did. so speaking of guys who have learned how to start, a race winner, Fabio Quartararo. That's a fantastic maiden win. And I think I said it halfway through the week when we were talking offline that he will go well if he learns to wake up for the first 10 laps of the race and he has a good race start. And he seemed to manage to do that. And congratulations to the young lad. He's got his first win. What do you think of that ride from Fabio?
Well, I am happy because he won his first race. And now after having won his first race, he may think in the championship, but he has been the luckiest guy this weekend of the whole track. And his victory is just a consequence of an immense amount of luck. And I explain you why. If you go to the practice pace that shows what may happen in the race, Fabio was on position number 5. Clearly. You can go to the MotoGP.com and have a look. Anybody can do this. But it's much easier. People just going on the official press releases and blah, 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 blah. If you go to that website and you check, the fastest by far was Marc Marquez. He had a pace
the race pace was scary.
Yeah, 0.3
he was reeling off
mid-38s.
Exactly. And he dipped into the 37s whenever he felt like it.
Have a look at his sector times for Sector 4. For free practice 4 as well. Mark was untouchable through
He's
Sector
on another
4.
planet.
So,
Exactly. Okay. Mark untouchable. Second was Maverick Viñales. Third, very close to Viñales, was Alex Rins. Fourth was Johan Mir. Mir. And fifth was Fabio Quartararo. Okay. Fifth. So what happened to the 4 who were in front of him? Go through. Go through. So at the end, look, I don't want to take
bad tire choice.
Yes, I don't want to take the merit of Fabio because he won the race. But at the end, you have to admit the reality. Okay, the fireworks you can just watch on what is on TV, or really try to understand what's happening. That's the difference.
Yeah. So do you think the SRT team this week is going to have some hard questions about that, or are they just going to be reveling in the victory and go and do it again next weekend? Surely they have to be analysing that data and knowing that they have to do better this weekend.
Yeah, well, I imagine they knew this before the start of the race too, because if we can analyze this, imagine what they can do with all this stuff. But at the end, Fabio was lucky, and something very important for Fabio is he didn't do one mistake in the race. The same way he didn't do one mistake in Thailand last year, the same way he didn't do one mistake in Misano last year. So one of the big virtues of Fabio is that he does not mistakes in race.
And he didn't fall off.
Dave.
All right, Manuel, I've got a question for you. It's something that I've picked up on whilst doing the podcast, is that you try to encourage questions to the listeners where they can answer the question themselves. Yes. So I'm gonna put one out there potentially for you. So I've done a bit of homework on this one. Fabio's best results have come when he has been riding the satellite machinery. Fabio's poorer results are when he has been riding full factory.
Sorry?
So
did you just have a little power nap?
The first time he rode a full factory, he has won the race.
That wasn't full factory. He's still on a satellite. Every time that he's because Maverick has we saw it last year when Fabio was performing at his best. Maverick came back to the setup and the machinery that Fabio was riding. So there was still a difference.
The bike Fabio is riding this year has exactly the same specs than Mavericks.
It is?
But the team doesn't.
100%.
Okay. All right. That answers that one then. Because I'd always seen Maverick coming back to what the satellite
No.
bike was.
The bike is the same. And I tell you more. Look, Maverick look, the whole weekend, once again, it's interesting because there were 4 different Yamaha riders, okay? If you look for Maverick's quotes during the weekend, he always repeated the same. Please, don't put a finger on my bike. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Don't change anything. Yeah. On the other side of the scale was Valentino. A disaster. The tire doesn't work. The bike doesn't have. And Fabio also saying the bike is difficult. So everyone was explaining their situation. You understand, in their words. So at the end, Fabio was lucky. He did his job. He had, this time, luck was on his side. And then he put what a rider has to put. A perfect race.
Exactly, yeah. And the history books will tell that was his first win. That's all the history books will tell.
Do you see much change in the riders once they, like, obviously now he's won his first race? Is there a change in them once they've won that race? Do they gain a bit of extra confidence, or do you see something different?
This is a, like the politician says, Andrea, this is a very good question. I like you doing this question, you know.
I'll watch and educate myself on this and see what happens next week.
No, the good story is to see, and this is another thing to look at, the same way we have to look at Pecco and Brad Binder. We have to see the effect that this victory has on Fabio's mentality. It's very important because, look, it's not making Fabio's victory less, but it has been not a fought victory, and the riders, they know how they have won. They know, you know, they may look, so he knew that the Suzuki guys weren't there. He knew. It's interesting to see if the click in Fabio's brain has switched or not. We will see this in the next
Seeing
races.
his emotional response on the podium, I'd say that he...
Who knows? Anyway, look, I know we've just about gone over time already, so there's a lot we still need to get through. So I'm actually going to shift now and ask Manuel what he thinks about the world champion Marc Marquez before we talk about the other person. So what do you think?
Are you leaving the best for last?
I am, and there's been a lot said about Marc. I've got a feeling there's not much more to say about Marc at the moment. There's a lot of it in the press.
There was, look, the headline is clear. There was only one person who could beat Marc in Jerez yesterday. This person was Marc.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he
succeeded.
He beat himself.
Marc beat Marc.
Yeah.
And now comes my point. Look, I explained you something. We have seen Marc doing this a lot of times, or several times. No, when he got problem, he enters in a kind of state of I don't know, zen, and he goes for it, and he goes for it, and he goes for it, and it's like a tsunami. Okay, but the difference normally when we saw this in the past, we saw on the pit wall his manager Emilio Alzamora doing like, hey, signs like slow down, sending a message through the board like P4 okay, P2 okay. Because another point is if Marquez took this in consideration. This is another point. Did you see what happened this time? The psychopata. How do you say psychopata? Psychopata.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Psychopathic. Alberto Puig.
No.
Alberto Puig, you could see the images on the wall making signs to Marc to push.
Yeah.
So
was he riding dangerously? Or because like when he fell
extremely
off,
dangerous. And the manager of the team, instead of considering the danger the rider was in, the interest of the team, he was putting fire on Marc.
Yeah, it seems you said zen before, and that's a really, really good word. As you say, when we've seen Marc previously at his best, it is a state of zen. What I saw in the weekend wasn't zen; it was more like a red mist. It was just pure
I can imagine
aggression.
his eyes full of blood. But I tell you more. Look, a rider is a rider. Marc gets upset and then he gets crazy, and we saw what happened. The team manager. Look, Marc starts the race with a clear goal. His goal was to win that Grand Prix. Okay?
Yep.
Very clear. So when that incident happens, suddenly the goal for Marquez's race changes. So which was the goal after he left the track? The goal was to save that Grand Prix, to save it as the best as possible.
Yep.
Correct? And this is something that the rider may not be aware to think, but this has to be done inside the box. Okay?
Yeah.
With the manager, they say, okay, he's getting crazy. Let's try to slow down. With the timing he was lapping, that was clear that he would arrive at the top. That was not a secret. Everyone knew, you know, and then he would have finished 4th, 5th. That was good enough. That was exactly save the Grand Prix. But instead of stopping him, the team manager was throwing gasoline on Marquez.
On the fire.
Can you imagine Davide Brivio, Chavati, Lynn Jarvis on the pit wall crying like a hooligan?
Can't imagine Lynn Jarvis doing it. Maybe
this
Paolo
guy,
Ciabatti,
Alberto Puig, has to be fired. Because
there you go.
Not only because of this, because all the mess he has done with the riders, this guy probably he's a very good coach. But as a team manager, he is not capable. Irresponsible is the word.
So if Marc hadn't have crashed and he won or got up there, like you say, would there been talk about how dangerous it was, or would he just have been, oh my God, incredible, he's a hero, he got back up there?
That's not the point. The point is that what happened is what happened. Okay, if we can talk about 1,000 ifs, but the managing of the situation, you cannot blame the rider.
That's the word, Manuel. He is a manager. It is up to him to manage the situation. You're exactly right. And we've seen him and other people do it previously. He knows he's got a rider that's capable of so much, and he does need to manage the situation. And you're right. He was probably irresponsible in how he did that. Maybe he overestimated the strength of the bike. Who knows?
I have to check the word psychopata. Hang on. I have, because this is what look, Alberto, instead of taking care of the team and the interest of Honda and the interest of the rider, he projects his frustration. He's projecting his frustration on the rider.
He's a psychopath.
Exactamente. That's what he is.
Yeah. There we go. He's a psychopath.
Did you Google Translate? I like it. It sounded better the way Manuel said it.
Psychopata.
Yeah, it does. It sounds better in my head. Yep. Psychopata. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense now.
Indeed. Okay, we'll get to the big one now. The man himself, VR46, looked absolutely beaten and spent and done. What happened to Valet?
There is only one word to describe what I felt about Valentino this weekend. And
is it because he's old?
No, that word is, I was sad. So sad. So sad to see Valentino there. Incredible. So, look, I felt bad as a race fan, as a journalist, as somebody who has admired him and admires him. Look, he cannot do this with his image, Yeah. He has to... Let's cross fingers and imagine that it has been a bad Grand Prix, although it has been the worst Grand Prix of his career. And that maybe he can recover and come back and this. But the situation, what we have seen, compare him with the other three Yamaha riders. It was so embarrassing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So was it purely the tyre or was it other?
Well, the story is it was the tyre and then there was a red alert, an alarm on the bike and you had to shut the bike down. That's the official story.
In the practice, the tyre was not there. The race was just the end of the situation,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
But during the practice, did you hear about the controversy about the Michelin engineers that said that the problem was that Valentino was riding in a wrong way? That's why the tire for Valentino looked.
Really?
But this in practice, okay? He said, this engineer, Piero Taramasso of Michelin, said, the problem of Valentino, it's not the tire. The problem of Valentino is his riding. He doesn't get out of the bike as much as the other do. So in the press conference, obviously, Valentino was very upset. He answered these Michelin engineers. And I know that this engineer was called into the Yamaha track to apologize for what he said.
No, he dared to blaspheme against the Lord.
Again, and I tell you something more. I would beg Valentino to think very well before signing any new contract. Look, I don't know if he cares, but the rest of the world cares too much to see Valentino like that.
Exactly. We all want to see him on the top step of the podium next year in Moto 2.
Hell yeah. fighting with his brother.
Exactly,
That's
fighting
right.
with Luca. That's it. Well, Manuel, it's been absolutely amazing. The insights you give us into what's really going on around the track have been absolutely fantastic. We've gone over time, but I think we had to with that one. It's been so long. What are your final thoughts before we sign off?
I don't know what happened, but you have missed Cal Crutchlow.
You did too? Because he didn't even start the race, of course. We haven't even spoke about Cal.
Oh my god!
Talk to me about Cal. What are your thoughts there?
Cal has been one more of these victims of this biological change that has made riders take not lucid decision, like Mr. Viñales with his tire. That wasn't very lucid. Cal has had bad luck. He crashed in the warm-up, hit his head, went to the hospital. That was a big
crash too. Yeah.
Luckily they didn't find anything abnormal in his
in his head.
In his head. They didn't find the brain.
That rattled. That was scary.
I could have been more cruel, but let's leave it there. And then when he returned to the track, he suddenly started to have a lot of pain in his left wrist, I think. And
scaphoid.
Scaphoid. And I heard that he flew to Barcelona yesterday to get some just one screw in his scaphoid, and he will try to race next Sunday. But this to finish takes us to where Honda situation. How many times did we say, what would happen if Mark has a problem? Now, Mark had a problem.
About to, so if he's out for just 1 week, do they put a different rider in so both bikes are racing, or do they give him a week off?
No, they don't need to put another bike on that bike. But going back to the Honda, if Carl doesn't race, they won't have Marc Marquez and they won't have Carl Crutchlow. So the big defender of Honda will be Dave's
Takanagami.
political brother.
Sister.
That's who'll be on the 93 bike next week. It'll be Taka's sister.
Bring back Lorenzo.
Wheel him out. Wheel out Carl Fogarty. There we go.
So, but seriously, so if these guys are out, there's two bikes missing off the track?
They can, I think, I'm not very sure, but they can, the bike may not race for 2 Grand Prix, I think. Then they have to, another rider has to be seated on the bike. Yeah.
Yeah, so they'd put like Stefan Bradl or something on it.
Yeah, or Alvaro Bautista. They could get Alvaro Bautista from Superbike. There will be options.
Yeah, but that would he'd kiss his World Superbike challenge away. Though I think that's a long bow to pull for Alvaro.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that was the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah,
just a quiet one.
Yeah. So, Andrew, your first race. What do you think?
Oh my god! Seriously, these weekdays are crap. I don't like weekdays. I'm pumped, and I've got no plans this weekend, so don't bother me. I'm just going to be watching.
Love it.
I just want to give a little shout out to Yash. He's been educating me as well on social media and having lots of conversations about the riding, and I think he's one of the most excited people in the world that racing were back. So
excellent. What's up, Yash? How you doing? Excellent. Nice. And Dave, how does it feel to be watching riding and racing again?
It's like you said, it feels a bit surreal.
Yeah.
You're looking at video and you're realising that it's new. Like, you're not watching the same replays over and over again. Like, even the subtle differences on the bike, like the Ducati has different livery on it. That fascinates me now.
Exactly.
It's the little changes
and some of the digital overlays as well are really good. Some of the new graphics that they've got, it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, all right, boss, it's been an amazing week. Oh, no, Andrew, go.
I'm sorry. This is really, really, really important. Until you guys hear us again, our little friend here, Stu's going to have a birthday. So happy birthday, Stu. 21 again. Is it this weekend?
It is race day, 26th. Yep,
oh my
it is
God.
this Sunday. They're racing for me this week.
I think he said something to me about covering himself in peanut butter and standing in front of the TV for the weekend, if I remember correctly.
Question. Who do you want to win on Sunday? Okay, quickly.
Ooh,
Fabio again.
No, I don't, actually.
What?
Who do I want to... Oh, that's a really good question. I don't, but the thing is, I don't want Maverick to get up either. I think I want Dobby to win.
Oh.
I think I want Dobby to win.
Maybe
it's not going to happen,
birthday wish.
but I think I want Dobby to win.
Andrea?
Oh, Fabio again. I want to see him. Yeah, I want to see him keep going. You can shake your head. You don't know what's going to happen.
Dave?
Mia, I want this shortened season to be just full of upsets. Nothing would make me happier than just complete random winners for the next 13 race.
Love it. And what about you, boss? What do you think?
I like the option Dave just mentioned. That would be fantastic.
It'd be just. Can you imagine? It would just take the excitement to another level.
Yes,
a Suzuki 1-2.
Yeah.
Rins will be back. He'll have a miracle recovery. He'll be back. And then it'll be a Suzuki 1-2.
Well, in that case, I'm going for Tito. I want Tito to win.
Tito. You're being crazy. Yeah, Brad Binder's going to win.
Okay, guys.
Let's see what happens.
Fantastic. All right.
Have an
Thanks
awesome
very
week,
much, everybody.
everyone.
Thanks so much, listeners. See you next weekend.
Stay
Enjoy
upright.
Bye-bye.
Pereth 2. Bye.